My son forgot to come pick me up from the hospital despite 10 consecutive calls that went unanswered. A vague fear crept into my heart that something terrible might have happened to him. But the pain in my chest and the marks left by surgery gave me no luxury of waiting. I sat on the cold plastic chair near the exit corridor, watching people leave with their loved ones, feeling more alone with every passing minute. In the end, I called a taxi and returned home by myself. Martha, 72 years old, stood trembling on the sidewalk just 2 weeks after surviving a heart attack that nearly took her life. The evening was unusually cold, and the street was silent, as if it were holding its breath with her. She walked toward the door with heavy steps, pulled her key from her bag, and inserted it into the lock, but it would not turn. She tried again, then a third time, until a heavy realization settled over her. The lock was new, shiny, unfamiliar, and then she saw it. A sheet of paper was taped to the wide wooden door, written in bold black letters, merciless and cold. Do not try to enter. This house is mine now. Dad left it to me. There is no place here for intruders. Go to a nursing home. Kevin. Martha froze. She did not cry. She did not scream. She did not call for help. But that final word pierced her chest more painfully than the heart attack itself. Intruder. She was the one who had carried him for 9 months. The one who sold her jewelry to pay for his college tuition. The one who stayed awake beside his bed when he was sick, forgetting herself so he would not suffer. And now, she was an intruder on the doorstep of her own home. Inside the house, Kevin was stretched out on his father's old leather chair, sipping an expensive drink, his feet resting carelessly on the table. His wife, Jessica, moved from room to room, flipping through paint color samples and pointing at the walls with disdain. She frowned and said, "I hate this wallpaper. It smells like old people. We need to get rid of everything." Kevin laughed coldly. "Do whatever you want. It's finally ours." Jessica hesitated. "Are you sure she won't come back?" He waved his hand dismissively. "I changed the locks this morning. If she comes, she'll see the note and go crying to her sister. It's over. Dad is dead, and the law is clear. I'm the only son." Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed through the house, the sound of metal scraping, coming from the front door. Kevin jumped to his feet. "What's that? Is she trying to break in?" He stormed toward the door and flung it open angrily, ready to intimidate his weak mother and force her away. But she was not alone. Martha stood calmly, flanked by 2 police officers in uniform. Behind them was a locksmith holding his tools, and between them stood a dignified man with stern features, carrying a thick leather briefcase, the family lawyer. Kevin shouted, his face turning red. "This is trespassing. Get out now. This is my house. My father left it to me." The lawyer stepped forward, looked at him calmly but firmly, and said in a steady voice, "No, Mr. Kevin, you are living under a dangerous illusion. Your father did not leave you this house." He slowly opened the briefcase and pulled out an official stamped document. He added, "In fact, your father did not own this house at the time of his death." A heavy silence fell, as if time itself had stopped. Kevin's face stiffened, and his hand began to tremble. "What do you mean? That's nonsense." The lawyer held the document up. 3 years ago, after your mother suffered her first stroke, your father transferred full ownership of the house into her name. It was officially registered, legally documented, and cannot be contested. Jessica gasped. "What? Why didn't you tell me this?" One of the police officers stepped forward and said formally, "Mrs. Martha is the sole legal owner of this property. Changing the locks without her permission constitutes trespassing and may result in legal action." Martha stepped inside slowly. Her movements were calm, but her eyes carried the weight of years of betrayal. She looked at the couch where her son had been sitting, at the glass in his hand, at the house she and her husband had built stone by stone. She said, quietly yet firmly, "I never wanted to throw you out of my home. I thought you would remain my son, not someone waiting for his father to die so he could take everything." Kevin lowered his head for the first time since her return from the hospital. The lawyer continued, "Due to your actions in preventing the rightful owner from entering her own home, Mrs. Martha has the legal right to prohibit you from residing here." Jessica turned sharply toward Kevin. "I told you this was a bad idea." Martha raised her hand gently. "No need to shout, 'Take your belongings.'" Today, Kevin tried to approach her. "Mum, I made a mistake. I was just afraid of ending up with nothing." She looked at him for a long moment, with the eyes of a mother whose heart had been broken, and then said, "Mistakes can be forgiven, Kevin, but betrayal is a lesson that is never forgotten." An hour later, Kevin and his wife left, carrying a few boxes, under the silent gaze of the neighbors who had finally understood the truth. The locksmith replaced the lock once more, this time with the right key. Martha sat by the window, placed her hand on her chest, and closed her eyes. She had not only reclaimed her house, she had reclaimed her dignity, and from that day on, she no longer feared loneliness, because she learned that the deepest pain does not come from illness nor from old age, but from a son who forgets who once was his heart.